Well, good morning. You have reached a midpoint in this course on Romans. Romans is a wonderful book, as I earlier mentioned in one of our posts. I hope you are sensing that. I hope you're not getting discouraged by the depth of this great book. It is something for us to re-examine. There are great commentaries you should surround yourself with if you would like to expand beyond these 8 weeks. I'd like to touch on in this video some thoughts around Romans chapter 3 in regards to the statement that Paul makes that there is none righteous, no, not one. You need to be reminded in this section of chapter 3, he opens up the courtroom again and just lays out the indictment. Nothing that is good within man is able to save them from their sin. And he gives the reasons why man is unable to save himself. You have to remember back in chapter 1 and chapter 2, chapter 1 revealed kind of the shadows of where man was going, that the gospel reveals the righteousness of God. And then in chapters 1, verse 18 and following, you see the depth of man's sin. Again, nothing good within man. And then the courtroom opens up even more, and you have both Jew and Gentile that become the spotlight for the Apostle Paul. You have the Jew who says, well, I have the law. This is how I abide by the law, yet they don't even abide by the law that was given to them by special revelation through the works of Moses, through the prophets, and namely even as you look at the Psalms. And then you have the Gentile who says, well, I was never given the law. This is, in a way, of my translation of understanding chapter 2. And so the Gentile comes and says, well, I have no law. But Paul says, you do have the law. The law is written on your heart. The law that is inscribed on your heart tells you or bears witness about what God requires of you and how you should live, how you should respond to your surroundings. Then chapter 3, again, you have this indictment. No one is righteous. There is nothing that is within me that would provoke me to do that which is good before God. There is nothing that I could bring before God that would prove my righteousness. My righteousness comes from faith in Jesus Christ. Matter of fact, in chapter 3, verses 21 through 26, I would say is the heart of this great epistle. In this section, in chapter 3, verse 21 through 26, you have three theological statements that Paul gives to the Romans. He talks about being justified by Christ, and then he talks about redemption, that sealing, that purchasing of the sinner from their sin, and ultimately through the work of propitiation. Those three unique theological, forensic, legal terms provides a bridge for us to consider then verses 19 through 20 as some potential roadblocks, potential matters of interpretation, and we'll look at the next video in regards to how we might approach verse 19 through 20. But the heart of Romans is the person of Jesus, who is the gospel. And the gospel is the very vehicle, the very transponder, the very thing that you and I need in order for our sins to be forgiven. So when you look at chapter 3 and you see that no one is righteous, no one can come before God, that the only way we can come before God is through the gospel in verses 21 through 26. And if you can help people understand that there is nothing good within them, that as if they stand before this holy God, maybe they can see the depths of their own sin and how their throats are open graves, or how they speak venom from their tongue, and how they like to curse people and speak unkind words. At the heart of the gospel is the heart of our sin. And if we can see our sin, we can see Christ. And how Christ bridges the gap and brings about justification, redemption, and ultimately propitiation, the very things that we need for our sins to be forgiven and for us to stand before God. I hope you can see that and sense that. There are many, many Old Testament passages that Paul takes us back to, such as Psalm 14, Psalm 5, Psalm 140, again Psalm 10, and then lastly Isaiah 59 as some passages to reflect on. We'll see you in the next video. God bless you.